This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
We have a lot of activity going on in the chat right now. And I would like, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you believe in the flat earth, if you believe in the global earth model, globe model, either way, please join me in welcoming my very special guest, David Weiss. David, how are you, my friend?
Zach, I am good. Happy to be here. Long
Good.
time coming, man.
Excellent, excellent. And not a problem. Let's see here. So, Dave, how did you get into this? This is crazy, you know? I mean, it seems like it flies in the face of anything that we've ever been taught.
That's the trick, yeah. So I'll just give you a quick background. I'm a normal guy, went to school, ended up going to medical school. In the last year of medical school, I dropped out because I realized allopathic medicine was nonsense. Started studying, natural remedies, got a normal job, and then started learning about conspiracies. And I started a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. A lot of people know that. I'm out of New York City. I did that for 3 years, and in the third year, some people started sending me flat earth stuff, and I wouldn't watch a 1-minute video. No chance. I banned people from our social media for being so stupid as to try to waste my time, and they're like begging me to watch a video. Wouldn't do it. It's not worth the time. And then I told the story a million times, but one day I was talking to a fellow researcher, Sophia Smallstorm, and we were talking about all these deceptions that were happening, all of these fake things. And she said to me, I said, the amount of deception is so incredible. And she goes, "Oh, David, it might be worse." I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I think the earth might be flat." and I absolutely freaked out. And she goes, "Here, watch this." And she sent me Mark Sargent's Clues. And I think Eric Dubay's 200 Proofs. And so I watched them and I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm going to spend the weekend, debunk this, make it go away forever. 2 weeks later, no sleep, no food. I come up, full beard, and I'm just like, oh my God. And now, 5 years later, I'm the host of the Flat Earth podcast. I've got, a lot of stuff because we're going to go tonight. It's not going to be an argument. It's not a debate. No. It's questions. Yeah. We're going to answer questions. Everybody thinks they got the gotcha question. It's Flat Earth 101. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. It's Flat Earth 101. And you'll find out that there are no gotcha questions. And then you'll realize, then the big question that'll come up is, why the lie? Let's wait until later to answer that question, but let's get through the details.
That's definitely a question that I do have. So the accepted scientific model of the Earth, we'll call it that. Is that the heliocentric model or the globocentric model? What's the?
I call it the helio-nonsensical model. Other people know it as the heliocentric model. Just last thing before we go. Tonight is about belief versus knowing. Belief is easy. Somebody could say something like, "Hey, I went to medical school and dropped out in the last year," and you can just believe it and you're done. Or you can take the time, might take you a week to figure out where I live, where I went to school, and find out that's a complete and total lie. I never went to medical school. Okay? All right. I hate even doing this example because I hate lying.
Right.
But it's to set a point. Belief, as Crow 777 says, who I believe you're having on soon.
Yes.
Belief is the enemy of knowing. Belief is easy, takes zero effort, and you have your entire day free. Knowing takes time, effort, critical thought, and sometimes you got to put your ego over here and go, "Wow, I've been fooled."
Absolutely.
So tonight is about finding out what we believe, and what you'll find out is that the globe religion is a belief system. It's a religion. Because there's zero proof for the globe. Everyone thinks they have it. We're going to hit that up. So there we go. What was your question?
Well, first of all, I just need to say a couple of thank yous to the audience for the super chats. Britt Ammon says hello from Vero Beach, Florida. Kathy DePoy says Earth is flat. Can't change my mind. And then Jeff Stewart said where we go one, we go all. Q is back. So one of the reasons that I always have believed that the Earth was in fact round is because when you look at things on a microscopic level out to a macroscopic level, the atom, it's round, electrons, neutrons, they're round, and then as things go up, they get progressively larger. The Earth is round, the heavenly bodies are round, it looks like the sun and the moon are round. But I mean, I guess that's not necessarily a scientific proof, but
we can address. That's going to take 2 hours to address all of those points. But just because one thing's one shape, like the old example in the flat Earth realm, which I don't really use very much, is pool balls are round. The lights above the pool table are round. Does that mean the pool table's round? It's not. I mean, those are different things. You say planets are round because the only images you've seen of planets come from two sources, Disney and NASA. And one of them is less credible than the other, but I'm not sure which one it is. Okay. And these are paintings, but now our optics, like the P1000 super zoom camera, have outgrown their lives. We can zoom in on stars and see that they are not they're not burning balls of hydrogen. We can zoom in on planets and see that they're not what NASA's telling us. They're pulsating balls of energy. We don't know what they are. They're lights in the sky. We don't know the distance. We don't know how big they are. On either model, nobody knows. Nobody can prove it.
Okay.
Like we're told that the sun is how far away? Everybody in chat.
How many million miles away is the sun, guys? Somebody must know.
And by the way, all of the flat earthers know that answer, and probably 1% of the people that think flat earth is stupid knew that answer. And the answer is 93 million miles away. Okay.
Yeah.
But nobody knows how that was calculated. And there is one answer. It's so convoluted. It's nonsense. They've changed that. It was 3 million miles. It was 7 million miles, 93 million miles.
Yeah.
Nobody can prove it.
We got all of those answers in the chat.
So now you know who's a flat earther and who's not. Here's the other thing.
Thanks, guys.
Is what's really funny in this is the people that fight against flat earth have no idea what the model is. They actually have a misconception of what the model is because they got that from the Flat Earth Society, which nobody in the flat earth community believes. That is a controlled opposition site.
Oh, very interesting. Right? I did not know that.
And so not only do they not know about what the flat earth model is and have misinformation about it, they have no idea how fast the earth is spinning, how fast it's orbiting, how big it is. They don't know any of this stuff. Some of them remember a few of it a little bit from school, but they don't know about either model and fight against. You got to ask yourself, why am I programmed to do that?
Paul Marshall says, it is fun bouncing imaginary planets and stars around in my head. It makes me feel smart. And then JQ says, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app is a good starting point for people new to this stuff. New videos on it every day. I was actually going to suggest that. This is your app. And I came across it because it was suggested to me after I had watched the video that you mentioned earlier, Eric Dubé's 200 proofs for flat Earth. It's a very long video, but it's a lot of compelling information. And for somebody who is not a scientist and who doesn't know, anything other than what I've been told, it was really neat to see it and to kind of, take a look at each of these different arguments and ask, wow, I mean, if this is correct, then it's very possible I've been lied to. And one of the reasons that it's, more likely for me to believe that I've been lied to is because I already know how many other things I've been lied to about. So let's start with one that seems like it'd be pretty easy. How do we explain an eclipse if the Earth and the moon are not round? How does an eclipse take place?
All right. So again, lots of the stuff you really have to think. You have to think visually. A lot of the information is on YouTube, but it's all hidden now. If you Google it, if you search YouTube, you'll find none of it. That's why the app, which is right here, serves you information. We'll talk about that later. This is about getting the information out, which you can no longer freely find on YouTube. So how does the eclipse happen? So first, one thing we're told that by Bill Nye, the lying guy, is that only a sphere can cast a circular shadow, the Earth being a sphere, on the moon, no matter which direction it's coming in from. And then they show you like a quarter going by and how it would make a line, okay? The truth of the matter is that's not even true. If you have a sphere and then you have another sphere with a single source light, and you take that sphere and slide it, to eclipse the moon, which is over here, that sphere shadow is going to come on as a long ellipse, and then it's going to wind out, and then it's going to leave as a long ellipse. Because you use a sphere to cast a shadow on another sphere, it doesn't come in on that perfect curve as we see. Okay. If you take a straight edge, and I'm not saying that the Earth is what's causing the eclipse, just take a book and slide it into there, you'll see that exact same shape that we see on the moon. Okay.
Wait a second. Say that again. I was reading the chat. What shape?
Yeah. So if you have a light and a ball, and you take literally just a flat edge, a book, whatever, you'll see that curved shadow come in. It'll be curved on the moon because that sphere is curved. I'm not even saying that the moon is curved. Okay, it sure looks like a sphere, but we'll talk about that if you want. The other thing is there's a thing called the Seleninian eclipse. There was one just last year. I think there's over 50 documented ones where you have the Earth and the sun and the moon to the observer are above the horizon. Okay, and the eclipse has already started. And not only that, the eclipse is coming in from the top, not from the bottom like you would think. Okay, this rules out the helio-nonsensical model explanation of what an eclipse is. Now, if you ask me what an eclipse is, we don't know. There's stories of dark bodies up there, all sorts of stuff. I don't think it's even a shadow. I think it's a dimming of the moon's light. There's videos on the app. If you go on the app and you click the frequently asked questions, you get a page like this, and then find out about the eclipses on there. And there's a whole bunch of videos that'll show you. The one thing that they show you for sure is that the helio-nonsensical model is complete and utter nonsense, and it doesn't work.
Okay.
So that's one. Again, the lights in the sky are above us. We can't get up there, so we can't necessarily prove it. But what we can do is show you that it's not what they're telling us.
All right, and I just wanted to say I've seen a lot of people freaking out in the chat. I've said this before. I have guests on from a variety of points of view. I think that David makes a compelling argument for his argument, and so I'm just interested in having him here for a conversation. And if you guys don't believe what he says, that's totally fine. This is America. We're talking about the right to free speech, and as I stated earlier, I think that the most interesting people that I know in my life don't have the exact same point of view as me. And plus, I thought it would be fun for everybody to take a chance and call in and try to stump David. I think that's totally cool.
Let me say something else. Instead of freaking out without any information, come up, ask a question, ask it in chat. There's a lot of flat earthers in chat. They'll answer you by name, so your name lights up, and they'll try to direct you in the right way. But again, all of the questions are answered. So let's start going through some questions. So let me talk about some flat earth proofs. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Go for it.
So the simplest one is there's no curvature. We're told that the Earth is so big that you can never see curvature, but boats go over the horizon and we see them disappear from the bottom up. Okay. Every sphere, from the size of a basketball to the size of a beach ball to the size of the Earth, has a curvature rate. It curves, and there's a formula for that. The formula for a 24,900 mile ball, like the Earth is supposed to be, is, it sounds complicated, but it's not, 8 inches per mile squared. So you're on the top of the ball, right? And you go 1 mile, it's a drop of 8 inches.
Okay.
Right? If you go 2 miles, it's not 16 inches because it's dropping off faster and faster. So you have to square the miles. So 3 miles is 3 times 3 times 8. It's 6 feet of drop in 8 miles. So a 6-foot person standing on the shore of the water, calm ocean water, the horizon, the water should drop off from their eye line at 3 miles, and you shouldn't see any more water.
Okay.
Not only can we see more water, we can see things 20 miles away. We can see things 50 miles away. We can see things so far away that you need infrared to break through that the opaqueness of the atmosphere. And we can see things that should be thousands of feet below the curvature. There was a test recently, I think it was 300 something miles. Again, it's on the no curvature tab on the app. And it should have been with the observer height, because it's all calculatable, and it's not there's no argument about that. Ballers, science says this is the curvature calculator. It should have been, I think it was 48,000 feet below the curve, but we can see it. Okay.
All right. See, that one really gets me, because how is that possible? I mean, if I mean, the only other thing that I can think of, if the Earth is not flat, in terms of that argument, is that it must be much larger than we're being told. And I think that this is something that it's a good question to ask, and it's a good thing that we should want to know. Why is it possible for us to see things that we should not be able to see?
Yeah, well, the baller, I can't say it. There's a channel, Nathan Oakley, who does flat Earth debates. He answers it better than anybody. There's a video on my channel. If you go to the DITRH channel, and it's called Flat Earth Clock or something like that. It's one of the top videos right now. And basically, I see a clock on a tower 20 miles away. I say clock 20 miles away. That's it. That's the end of my explanation. A baller has to say, well, that clock is looming up in a non-standard refraction over a non-specific horizon. I mean, the amount of stuff that you have to make up to make that clock appear, but it's not really there. It's an illusion. It's a mirage. It's nonsense. You can see these things. There's time lapses across Lake Michigan where we can see, the city, the skyline, and time lapse. So the weather changes, the temperature changes, the light changes, and the buildings just stay there.
I did have one question that I was able to catch in the audience from Geezer Man. How did the ancient people like the Mayans calculate all future solar eclipses for thousands of years? Calculations are based on the solar system and orbits. Excellent question, Geezer Man.
Yeah. So again, in the heliocentric model, we're spinning and spiraling and flying through space, and we're traveling billions of miles every year, but somehow 365 days later, the stars are in the exact same locations they were a previous year.
Hey, Kitty.
And 100 years ago and 1,000 years ago, all the constellations are in the same place, even though we're traveling at 500,000 miles an hour in 4 different directions at once. It's insanity. The eclipses are perfectly predicted for forever, long before the globe model ever came in. We were told that the globe model was introduced 500 years ago by Aristophanes. That's utter nonsense. And the one guy at NASA that predicts the eclipses for them is using the same method that they used. Okay, I forget the name of it. I'm not good with all the names of these people and stuff. But if you go, there's a video on the Jeranism channel.
Okay.
About who, how the eclipses are predicted, or somebody in the chat will throw it in there. But again, these are predicted on a flat Earth, and then just the heliocentric model just takes claim for it. The heliocentric model is, the path that the sun takes over the flat Earth is 24,900 miles on the equinox, and the globe just says, oh, that's the equator. Okay, so again, these things are they go together.
Here's a question.
Was a good explanation, but
it's okay. All right, so we're at a 60-second slow mode, but we've got so many people that are chatting, so I'm going to put it at 90 seconds, guys, because a lot of people are asking for it to go slower. Okay, hopefully that helps. So let's go over what the model is for flat Earth and what believers of the flat Earth predict that it would be. I guess because it's difficult for me to even wrap my head around the idea that we are just here. Like, what's around us? I mean, where are we? What is the nature of reality? Thinking about that.
Let's talk. A lot of people don't even know what the flat Earth is. So let me run that over real quick. So I'm going to just show you the flat Earth is. Picture a lake in Kansas, a big circular lake with some islands. Okay. Right in the center of the lake is the North Pole. We got to put a pole there. It's a magnetic pole. Okay. You take out your compass. It's going to point. If this is my microphone is the North Pole on the lake, it's going to point to the lake, to the center. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If I go west, I have to keep my compass pointing. West is a circle around that. East is a circle in the other direction around that. This is true on a globe Earth and a flat Earth. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
So you got your islands, which are all your continents. I can go east and west around it. Any direction away from the North Pole is south. Okay.
Okay.
Any direction away from the North Pole is south. And the shoreline that surrounds the ocean, the world ocean, I call it the world lake, is the shoreline of Antarctica. Antarctica is the highest land in the world. Okay. So if you went south and got to the shoreline of Antarctica, there's a cliff of ice, sometimes 200 feet high. And then there's a ice plain that goes, I think it's 200 or 300 miles. And then there's mountains that go miles into the sky all the way around. Okay.
Okay.
We're the puddle in the middle, and the sun and moon are small, and they circle around us, and they oscillate closer to the center. If you can see on the app here, closer to the center, you have the yellow line. That's the Tropic of Cancer. And when the sun is over that in June, it's the inner northern land summer. And then when it moves outwards like it is now, it's heading towards the Tropic of Capricorn. And that is the outer southern lands summer, and it's our winter. Because the sun is farther away, it looks lower in the sky to us, and we see it. We can only see the sun at a certain distance. So when it's farther away, it rises later and sets earlier.
All right, I need to give a couple of thank yous to the audience again. Let's see. 27 Sparkle said, Earth is LOL. Okay, so you're asking, which is great. We need to ask questions. Nothing wrong with that. JQ says, seriously, Lo, if it's so ridiculous, why does YouTube consider flat Earth content to be dangerous and harmful? And then Paul Marshall says, I was sick for 2 weeks when I first realized the Earth was flat indeed. Dan the Waterman says, how flat is it? Chad Davis Boz, thank you for the super chat. Dan the Waterman again says, science is different than what we believe in. And then Dan Morris says, there is armies of trolls and AI bots who question, discredit, and humiliate any and every flat Earth comment made in forums or chat rooms. Flat Earth is the only conspiracy theory that we see this. Now, I would also like to remind everyone that science is always right until it's proven wrong, and it happens all the time. So if you I think that we need to give ourselves the room to ask questions and to look for better answers, every single day, every time something comes up. So there was, okay. So Antarctica, one of the things that I've heard people say is that no one has ever sailed around Antarctica, but
yeah.
But hasn't there been recorded voyages of people actually sailing around Antarctica? I mean, but I don't know if people have walked, who have taken expeditions across.
There's a recent story that a drone little submarine ship just did it by itself. It's utter nonsense if you look at it. You can write a story, make a little picture, and that's it. Captain Cook sailed around Antarctica, or tried to. It took him over 3 years. He went like 70,000 miles and never made it back.
Oh,
Antarctica
wow.
is supposed to be like 15,000 miles around or something less, because it's supposed to be the continent at the bottom of a ball, but it's not. Anyone, all of you people out there, Google photos of Antarctica from space, okay?
Yeah.
And just realize that you're looking at South Park. There's nothing better than that. It's just complete and utter garbage, because they can't even fake it like they do when they take a high altitude shot of the Earth and then just bend it with a fisheye lens.
One of the reasons that I completely understand why people would think that, this is more likely than not, is because I have seen footage of things from NASA, and it's clearly not what they're telling us.
Okay.
As an example, footage from the moon landings and stuff. I'm sure that a whole bunch of things that can disprove the idea that footage of us on the moon is true.
Yeah. So I don't. By the way, I became a flat earther before I realized that the moon landings were complete and total garbage, and which is absolutely insane. But then when someone told me, I was like, "What?" And it took me 10 minutes of actually looking to realize, "Oh my God, I've been fooled my whole life." I grew up during the moon landings.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's deep and emotional to me. But once you realize that NASA is nothing but a Disney studio arm, that it's complete and utter nonsense. Look at the space station, right? The greatest technical achievement ever. It just appeared up there. It was put together, there's no video, there's no photos. It's been up there without any seals between compartments. And it works perfectly. No one's died. It's complete. I can't even talk about the space station sometimes because I lose the words for it. But
well, isn't it possible to see the space station and to see satellites from Earth?
So let's talk about satellites.
Yeah.
Okay. So you ever stand underneath the 747?
I mean, not directly, but
so I'm just trying to say, you go on a 747, it's a big plane.
Yes.
But if you stood underneath it, it's like, wow, this thing's big. It's almost as big as a football field. Okay. So you take that and you move it up to cruising altitude, 35,000 feet.
Okay.
And it's the size of a pencil eraser held at arm's length now, right?
Okay.
It's a tiny little dot in the sky, and it's kind of grayed out even on a clear day because it's so far away. The air between is just muting all the colors, right? We can all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
If I doubled the height of that, do you think you could still see it?
No, I wouldn't.
Logically,
think so.
no.
Yeah.
But if I 50 times the height of it, do you think you could see it?
I would bet not. No.
You would know not pretty
Yeah.
much. Well, satellites are the size of like a small car, even let's call it a school bus, much smaller than a 747, and they're even higher than that.
Okay.
And we're supposedly seeing them we're seeing something. We're seeing lights in the sky. I'm not telling you what they are, but I'm telling you what they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, what is it then? What are we seeing?
Yeah, so we don't know. They're like, the only thing you could say about the lights in the sky are lights in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
They're lights in the sky. We don't know what they are. We have a lot of theories and speculations, and there's lots of evidences, but I don't want to talk about theories.
Sure,
right?
I
They're
understand.
lights in the sky. That's all we can say.
Let's see. Actually, a couple of quick things from the audience. Let's see. Oh, Fuse99 says, Dave is my favorite app salesman. Sorry, I forgot to send super chats because I can't on Owen Benjamin's channel. Not a problem. Paige Windle, thank you for that super chat. Striff Saul says, I can take an aircraft and fly it in the same direction as the rotation of the Earth at a slightly high alpha with my flaps fully extended and actually fly backwards in relation to the ground. How do you explain that?
Ask that question again.
I can take an aircraft and fly it in the same direction as the rotation of the Earth at a slightly high alpha, it says. Slightly high alpha. Maybe slightly high altitude? No. With my flaps fully extended and actually fly backwards in relation to the ground. How do you explain that?
I've never even heard that. I don't believe that's even a thing. But let's talk about flying and landing on a rotating Earth.
Okay.
Earth. First, the FAA manual talks about that when they're talking about flying, that they treat the Earth as a flat, non-rotating plane. It says it 100 times in their manual. Flat, non-rotating plane. Let that thing sink in for a second. Not airplane, plane, like level surface. Okay, so the Earth is spinning allegedly at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. So if you're on the equator, 24,000 miles around, 1,000 miles an hour, takes 24 hours to go around, right?
Sure.
Makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we go up to Alaska, which is much closer to the axis of rotation. It's still going around once every 24 hours, but its circle is much smaller than the bigger circle that the equator is making. So
Okay.
it's only moving at 300 miles per hour in northern Alaska. It's right, 300 miles per hour, approximately, and it goes around. It goes around the North Pole every 24 hours.
Yes,
Okay? Because
yes.
it only has to travel, 3,000 miles or whatever it is, whatever that circle is, because the circles get smaller and smaller as you get closer. So let's even make it worse. You're on the North Pole. Okay,
Mhm.
You're not moving at all because you're just going like this, right? You're not traveling. You're just turning around once every 24 hours. You're on an airplane sitting on a runway at the North Pole, and you take off and you fly to the equator. The equator is spinning 1,000 miles per hour. You're trying to land on a north-south runway. It's moving sideways at 1,000 miles per hour. How do you land on that runway?
Well, because we're all on the Earth and we're all moving at the exact same speed.
No, we're not.
Well, let's just say, but relative to our position on the Earth, I can see I think I can see where you're going. But let's say you've got a couple of, you and your buddy are standing in the back of a pickup truck, and you can toss a football back and forth to each other. And because you're all on that pickup truck moving at the exact same speed, you're able, the ball just goes back and forth and continues to move forward at the same time that you throw it across. Doesn't that explain it?
No. It doesn't, because the person on the equator is moving 1,000 miles per hour. The person in Alaska is moving 300 miles per hour. When the person from Alaska flies to the equator, he has to gain that speed. Also, somebody flying from California to New York versus New York to California, that Earth should be spinning underneath them. But the baller argument is you're already rotating with the Earth, so you're taking that initial speed. So if I'm in New York and it's moving at, let's say it's 600 miles per hour on the runway, and I fly to California, right? I'm actually moving backwards at 600 miles per hour. I'm flying forward at 500 miles per hour. So I'm making progress because the Earth is turning and I'm moving forward. And it's the opposite from the other way. But that makes absolutely no sense, because as my example said earlier, if you're in the north, in the upper north, you're moving slower. There's no way that you can gain that speed, let alone dive down. I mean, you have to constantly nose down. A plane flying at cruising altitude at 550 miles per hour has to nose down a mile every 2 minutes to maintain altitude. Otherwise, it's just going to fly into outer space. It has to follow that curve. And the gyroscopes on the plane keep rigidity in space. Okay, and they're not affected by gravity. Okay. So they keep the plane level. Airplanes fly over the Earth plane. Water lays level. Here's one to think about.
Okay.
Nowhere in science can you show me high pressure next to low pressure. Okay, high pressure next to low pressure. I have an aerosol can. I poke a hole in it. Whoosh, pressure is going to equalize. Right. If I have a vacuum can and I attach it to a non-vacuum can, it's going to suck all the air until it's equal. Okay. So we're in a pressurized atmosphere with a vacuum, which is way more than low pressure. The strongest vacuum in space. Why doesn't it rip the Earth off, the atmosphere off? And the only answer you guys give is gravity. But I can disprove that right now.
Okay, go for it. I thought that the reason that the atmosphere stayed, around the Earth is it must have had something to do with electrical energy. Like, I've heard of this other theory called the electric universe theory, which is, I don't even know how to explain it. I want to have that guy on in a different show.
Yeah, so the electric, by the way, we're not far off from the electric universe, except they think we live on a ball. So that's the only difference in reality. The only true forces on this Earth are electricity and magnetism. So again, ballers say that the gravity, the gravity, which is only a theory, if you ask science, they don't know what it is. Ask Neil deGrasse Tyson, I don't know what it is, but it works. It's nonsense. It's holding this air down, but meanwhile, a summer breeze can push the air to the left and to the right and up and down, but gravity is holding it from being sucked into space. I can take a straw and drink water. With the weak vacuum of my lungs, I'm pulling water and air up and away from gravity. That destroys that argument if you actually think about it.
I see where you're going with that. Okay, I've got a couple things from the audience, and then G on to you says, ask a mariner, how would the navigation tables have worked for sailors? Sun and moon sites would not work if the Earth wasn't round. It's based on the round Earth.
That's not true. The AE map that is used for navigation. It's been used forever. Ballers say it's a projection of the globe. Flat earthers say that the globe is a projection of the AE map. East and west are circles. North and south are straight lines radiating from the center. They say it's from the center of the Earth. Navigation works perfectly. Think about this. You have your globe. Okay, and you're in Santiago, Chile, which is way down on the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. And over on the other side, Australia is right over here. You have two choices. You can go across Antarctica, short line, or you can wrap around staying at that low latitude and get there in a very short trip. But that's not what happens. The airplanes fly all the way up to the north. They go across America over to Dubai, and then they go all the way back down. They do this big U. Okay.
I've
But
seen that.
If you look at that on a flat Earth map, it's a straight line. It's a straight line on a flat Earth
Oh,
map.
You're saying if it was laid out as a flat Earth, the natural route that they take to go from, you said Santiago, Chile to the other place.
Yeah, so look, if you
I
draw
see.
a straight line from South America to Australia, it's a straight line, but on a globe, it's this big arc. It's nonsense.
Okay, hold on just one second, Dave. Dan,
Okay.
oh, here we go. Dale Bercier says, oh no, I'm sorry, Eric Krebs. Eric Krebs says evidence shows of a cyclical catastrophe every 10 to 12,000 years. Does flat Earth theory relate farming, terraforming by Foo Fighters? Does flat Earth have anything to say about the catastrophes, the cyclical catastrophes that we've seen in the archaeological record?
Again, we're here. The archaeological record that we're told is most people don't believe any of it. I don't know anything past the late 1800s. It's hard to get any realistic information. We're told that everyone knew the Earth has been flat for 500 years. Nonsense. In 1900, they were persecuting some teachers that were trying to introduce heliocentrism in in the North here. It was introduced in the 1900s or maybe even the late 1800s at the latest. Are there cyclical cycles? I'm a big follower of what people call mud floods. There's a bunch of channel doing stuff on mud floods.
I've seen Mud Fossil University.
Yeah, no, mud floods.
Mud floods. Okay.
You look at these incredible buildings that were built supposedly when the Pilgrims were here. We couldn't build them today, so we believe guys with horse and buggies built them.
Sure.
People with before the horse and buggy, they were building pyramids. Nonsense. There's been cycles and cycles and cycles. Is it every 3,000 or 4,000 years or whatever time you said? I think it's shorter than that. But
okay.
Again, I don't know.
All right, and then Dale Bercier said, I just received my new Red Pill 78 hoodie. That's awesome. Take a picture and put it on Twitter, and I'll repost it. Totally awesome, shameless plug. Go out and get yours today. God bless you. God bless you too, Dale. Okay, and then Striff Saul, I think this is clarification on the question earlier. Ask any seasoned pilot. You can make a plane with large enough wing area appear to fly backwards. Don't let this go. It will shatter the whole theory. Does that ring a bell?
You know what? I'd love to hear more about it.
Okay. Well,
email me at info@the Flat Earth Podcast and explain what you're saying and let us respond to it. But I really can't respond to it here because I don't know what he's saying.
Or please, you guys, don't forget, we're doing a call in here in 16 minutes. So please call in with your questions and with your arguments, and let's have a conversation. And then Dan Morris says Dave is saying the North Pole departure negates the conservation of forward momentum if the plane lands on the equator.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying there is no forward momentum. If you're on the North Pole, you have no forward momentum. If you take off from the equator, you're moving you're moving to the east at 1,000 miles per hour, right? And then you land at the North Pole that's not moving at 1,000 miles per hour. How do you get rid of that momentum? You need that to go away.
Okay.
Here's another thing. The upper level winds on the ball are going, 200 to 300 miles an hour faster than the Earth is spinning in the same direction. You would think if the Earth is spinning, and the official explanation that the atmosphere is held down with gravity and the mountains are, friction are spinning the Earth. That's the official story. They're spinning the atmosphere and it's all going with it. But the upper level winds are outrunning the Earth at 200 to 300 miles per hour. That's impossible on a ball. Unless, of course, the atmosphere is elastic and it's being whipped forward, and letting go. That's a ridiculous answer, but there's nothing better than that.
Okay. And then Q-Wife Maga Life says, Hiya RP78. I don't want to call in because of my mad crush on you. Please ask David if he knows Nathan Thompson, a former business partner till FE became an obsession and he lost his mind. Do you know Nathan Thompson?
Absolutely. Nathan Thompson will be at the Flat Earth Conference in December, which is December 14th and 15th in Dallas, Texas. And he let me tell you, Nathan is a madman in a good way.
Okay.
And he went full flat Earth, and again, people reacted, and he lost his business because I guess he was in some marketing business, and they took his accounts away. Whatever. Nathan's on a new path, a better path. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to him. And the guy is smarter than a whip. He has mad talent. So God bless Nathan Thompson.
All right. Somebody said I said MAGA wrong. MAGA, potato, whatever, guys. And my Luke Slytalker, he's a good friend. He says he's going to call in. And then AV40229 says, have him explain the flushing of toilets in the northern and southern hemisphere, like the difference with hurricanes and typhoons. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, good one. So the whole spinning forward and backward, forward one way in opposite hemispheres is a myth. Doesn't happen. You can have drains in your house that go in two different directions. There's guys at the equator that'll show you, they'll have a drain and then they'll move it to the other side of the equator. And it's all how they pour the water in. Now, yes, hurricanes and weather systems spin opposite on opposite sides of the equator, but not always. Sometimes they spin the other way, but those aren't reported very much. Take a paddle in a body of water and push a paddle through the water. And what you see is alternating spinning vortexes. We've all done it. Just fill up your sink or your tub and push your hand through it, and you'll see those alternating vortexes. The flat Earth model believes that the sun and the moon are electric and magnetic in nature, and they're causing a wake through our electrified atmosphere, and that's what's causing. That's what's causing the spinning of storms.
Okay. All right. Rich Kennedy said F.E. rock band The Nasonauts. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming that Nasonauts are a band. Oh, they're a flat Earth rock band. Have you heard of them, the Nasonauts?
I have not heard of them, but there's so much music
Nasonauts.
There's so much coming out of flat Earth. Flat Earth is actually taking off. There's 11 million flat Earthers in Brazil. Just 2 nights ago, the late night Jay Leno style show had 4 flat Earthers on for an hour, and they were crushing. And this is a comedy show, and they didn't make fun of these guys at all because the points that they were laying out there were undeniable. So there was a dozen conferences this year. There's going to be over 20 conferences next year. Worldwide, and it's truly amazing.
What is the Flat Earth Conference? I mean, that's coming up on, is that the 14th of November?
The 14th and 15th in Dallas, Texas. It's flatearthconference.com. If anybody, listen, if you love Flat Earth, you probably already know about it. If you absolutely hate Flat Earth and you can get yourself there, I guarantee Flat Earthers walk in, Globers walk in, but they don't walk out. Okay. It sounds like a cult, but nobody can go to that conference and walk out believing that they live on a spinning pear water ball rocket ship flying through an infinite vacuum.
All right. Well, I believe that you did include a link here in the description of the video, and then there's a code too if you guys want 15% off. And like he said, if you believe in it, then you can go and you can get 15% off. If you don't and you want to go there and try to debate people and get arguments for yourself, then you can get 15% off. But I just threw that into the chat there. Prognostic says, why is the focus always on Antarctica but not the North Pole? If I hover above the pole and look down, what do I see? We find no videos and experiments like flying in a tight radius and watching the compass lock to north.
Yeah, so the North Pole is another mystery. When I was a kid, there was land at the North Pole. All the ancient maps show 4 continents with the 4 mighty rivers coming out of there. Now we just see water on the maps. We were all shown that National Geographic, or at least I was when I went to school, where these guys ventured to the North Pole with their dogs. They got colder and darker, and there's nothing. And then they finally get there. They're like, "Hey, we're there!" And their fingers are falling off, and they have to eat the dogs because they ran out of food. And then now they got to leave. And it was basically just to make people say, "Oh, I never want to go there." I don't know what's there. There could be, flights don't fly over the North Pole ever. They go around it a little bit, right? They don't go directly over the North Pole. So again, we don't know. If you wanted to explore Antarctica or the North Pole, I'd say pick them because they're both fascinating. The quick thing about Antarctica is people say, thousands of people go there every year. Well, to go to Antarctica for 3 days, it's going to cost you $10,000 to $20,000.
Wow.
You're going to get a tour of the edge. They're going to show you some penguins, and then if you're lucky, they'll bring you inland a little bit, and they'll bring you to a pole, and they'll tell you it's the South Pole. It's not really the South Pole; it's just a pole stuck in the ground, and that's it. There's 1957, the Antarctic Treaty came in, and it is impossible to go to Antarctica. No corporation, no person can explore Antarctica freely, and it can't even be questioned until the year 2043, I think. Okay.
Really? That's a contingent on it? You can't question why?
Yeah, so there's a video, hard to find on YouTube, but write this one down, people. It's called "Sorry, Antarctica is Closed," and it's mirrored on a bunch of channels. It's on the Flat Earth Podcast Facebook page, but the original channel is Taboo Conspiracy 2, which is 2 eyes. Okay?
Yes.
Taboo Conspiracy 2. Sorry, Antarctica is closed. It's also on the app. Just click on the Antarctica button, and there's a whole bunch of videos there. If you watch that 35-minute video, you will understand that there's something going on. That video alone has woken more people up to, okay, they're hiding something massive.
And
anything else.
And that's when I saw that Taboo Conspiracy video about the moon landings. And, I would be kidding myself if I didn't say I have questions. I'm not saying that I have bought into the idea that, it's just us and we're under a dome or whatever. And I want to ask you about that. What is it that is surrounding the Earth? I mean, what is the firmament?
Right. So let's talk about that. The first reaction that people have is, well, how come no one's fallen off the edge? How come the oceans don't fall off the edge? Well, I say, if you're on that lake in Kansas that we talked about and you went to the edge of the lake, could you jump off? No, there's land. It goes on. And what's beyond that? I'm sorry, there's a fence. You're not allowed to go beyond this fence. And by the way, there's no food there. You're not allowed to bring any fuel. It's friggin' dark. It's cold. And good luck if you even want to go there.
Right.
So it's off limits. Now, what is above us? I used to believe that it's an infinite plane, and it still might be an infinite plane. I don't know. Here's again, I don't want to speculate. We can't go explore Antarctica, so we don't know what's out there. But there's a lot of evidence that there is a dome above us that's separating us from what we call space, which is not infinite space like they told us. I believe that space is a liquid like water.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, when you have Crow on, he could elaborate on that more because he has a lot more experience on that. But, there was in the 1950s or 40s, I'm not sure when it was Project Fishbowl, where they were shooting bombs up to try to blow a hole in the barrier above us.
Like the Americans or?
Yeah, well, the Americans.
Wow.
And it's called Project Fishbowl, okay?
Yeah.
You think about that, and then the deepest hole ever dug. We're showing this ball Earth with the molten lava in the middle, or the iron core. The deepest hole ever dug was short of 8 miles. It's called the Great Borehole. And by the way, the technology that they used to figure out what they were drilling into was wrong every step of the way. So we've never been deeper than 8 miles, and somehow we know what's in the center of the Earth. It's nonsense. But when we got down to 8 miles, they hit an impenetrable barrier. To me, that sounds like the impenetrable barrier above us.
Wow.
So some people are like, hey, hollow Earth, well, maybe there's, a realm above us and a realm below us, a less denser realm above us, a heavenly realm, and a more dense realm below us. Again, we don't know, but it makes a lot of sense. Last thing, I've been wanting to bring this up. People are big believers in aliens, okay? Aliens, if you want, it's aliens and extraterrestrials. People don't realize there's a difference. Aliens, people say they're demons, they're angels, whatever.
Lots of theories.
Take that aside.
Yeah.
We're talking about aliens, like people that are coming from other planets. No, extraterrestrials. They come from the extra territory, beyond Antarctica, perhaps, or in areas that we just don't have access to. And they're not coming from outer space from billions of light years away. They're coming from a day flight away on a conventional airplane, okay? Right? And they're coming from the extra territory, extraterrestrials.
Okay.
Are they here among us? I believe so. Again, can't prove it, haven't been there, not first person, but that makes a hell of a lot more sense than traveling through space and light years. Hey, before we get to the questions, I want to talk about what a light year is.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So we're told that we can see other suns just like ours that are light year, 10 light years away, 50 light years away. Just let's say 1 light year, okay? But they're light years away. So the sun is, take a small scale model. We get one of those big yoga balls, and that's the sun, and the earth is a small pebble right next to that, okay? That's the scale that we're told. You're on that small pebble. The yoga ball is a millimeter over your head. You look up into the sky, the sun fills the entire sky, right?
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to move the sun 93 million miles away. Now I can see the entire sky, and I basically see the sun the size of a dime held at arm's length above me. It reduced from the entire sky, horizon to horizon, to the size of a dime in 93 million miles. If I doubled that, would you still be able to see it?
I don't believe you would.
What about if I 8 times it? 8 times farther.
No, I wouldn't think so, no.
8 times farther is a light hour.
Okay. So that's the distance light would travel in 1 hour?
1 hour.
Okay.
And we're told that we're seeing things at light years away. A light hour is ridiculous. A light day is super ridiculous. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The angular, so again, we can get into long stuff. The angular resolution limits of our eyes and the inverse square law of light. Neither of these things I knew about before I started researching this prove that these distances and these sizes are impossible. And there's all that information, again, is on the app in the frequently asked questions. My challenge is get the app, everybody, and watch the daily video, 1 video a day for 2 weeks. And what happens is people say, I just went into the archive and they watched everything in 2 days. And then they send me an email. They're going, you've ruined my life. Everyone thinks I'm crazy because I think the earth is flat. Okay. But just ask yourself, why do you think you live on a ball? Come up with one reason. People that are calling in, come in with stop trying to research flat earth. Just give me one proof that we live on a ball.
I keep seeing people say I'm damaging my credibility by endorsing flat earth. I'm not endorsing flat earth. In fact, I want people to call in and convince us that this isn't the case.
Oh my God.
Specifically, any pilots, any physicist, anybody who has scientific background, and if there is somebody who has that type of background and would be willing to come on the show and on a night on their own, then I would absolutely love that. What about asteroids, meteors coming through the atmosphere and hitting the ground? Things, like, what was it, Tunguska in Russia?
Were you there? Did you see it?
I didn't see it personally. No, again, I'm just trusting what they told us.
There's some people think that they're military weapons. The lights that we see in the sky, the meteor showers, every August, on August 12th or whatever it is, we have these little meteor showers. Think about that. We're going through a comet tail that was there years, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. But how do we go through that same tail when we're spiraling and flying at 500,000 miles per hour for the entire year, and then we come back through that exact tail? It makes no sense.
Okay, so Halley's Comet, I know that it comes around, what is it supposed to be, every 85,000 years?
76 years. No, 76
years.
Oh,
not 85,000. Yeah, 76 years.
Yeah.
So, if we're all moving at the, I guess it's the same argument, if we're on the Earth and it's moving and it's all going to the same point. Couple of quick things from the audience. Michael Davis says, modern physics can't explain everything but globe. I guess you're saying that it does explain the globe. Vader's Forsco says, so what are all the stars? And you had said earlier that you didn't know what stars are. You don't want to claim to know what stars are. And what's up, Luke? We'll go to you next.
Let's talk about Halley's Comet real quick. Halley's Comet is a luminary that comes around every 76 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is,
Okay.
The planets were called wandering stars. Okay. So look at it that way.
All right. And then Andrew Hernandez says, centripetal force. If you were on the equator, you would weigh less than on the poles, in which you would weigh considerably more due to no centripetal force.
And that's not a one I really go after, but yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Because you'd be spinning, and also, by the way, everyone says you're spinning at the same speed, but going in a straight line on an airplane, you can barely tell that you're moving. But when the airplane turns, that's acceleration. You know, you're in a car driving 100 miles an hour, no problem. You're drinking your coffee, but turn that car, your coffee is going to spill.
Okay.
That's acceleration. And we're accelerating at 1,000 miles per hour over a curve. It's nonsense. Lakes lay perfectly flat. It's ridiculous.
All right. And Social Observer says this is what happens when you've been lied to constantly. People start to question things, obviously. Chris Hawkins says, come on, people, we can debate. You are not losing cred, RP. Well, thank you very much. My friend Luke Slytalker is on the phone. Luke, I'm going to oh, you are unmuted. Okay, buddy. What's going on? How you doing? This is David. David, this is Luke. Glad you both can be here.
What's up, man?
No.
Good to see you.
Right on. Dude, so David, dude, I've actually followed you for a little bit, man. I'm a Mark Sargent fan, actually, but I got a question for you, and this is in regards to ball Earth versus flat Earth. And Red Pill, am I on video? Can you see my video?
Yes.
Good night, Karen.
Yes, we can
perfect.
see you.
So, like, if we dig, like you always heard as a kid, if you dig down to China, you know, if you dig a hole straight down deep enough, you'll hit China. So if we dig, like you get in a digging position and you dig a quarter of the way down through the earth, what way are you facing? You're still facing your feet, right? You dig a little bit past halfway, what way are you facing? You should still be facing your feet, right? Once you hit 3/4, 4/5, all the way through, your shovel pokes all the way through the ground, and then it's going to hit a Chinese guy in the foot, right? Because aren't they standing like this on the other side of the earth where you were like this? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At what point do I turn around and start digging up to be at the right balance with them? At what point does that happen? That one was a mind bender for me. I never could quite understand it.
Yeah, well,
anyway, that's the one I wanted to say to you, and then I can
I think we froze. You're frozen, Luke. Are you still
all right.
there? Okay.
I got the question.
Go ahead.
It's a theoretical question on something that doesn't exist. You know, you can't come out feast first because we don't live on a ball. Even we can't get below 8 miles. So we're on a flat plane. That's it. You know, picture this: the Earth is the basement of the universe, and all of the heavenly bodies circle above us, and we can prove this by star rotation, star trails, and everything. It makes no sense that we're traveling at 500,000 miles an hour, spinning and orbiting at 66,000 miles per hour. But when you look at Polaris, everything goes perfectly around it in perfect circles. Okay? It makes no sense on a spinning ball.
All right, Luke, thank you so much for calling in, buddy. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Luke.
We'll see you. All right, Lauren is next. Lauren, are you there? I'm going to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Lauren. How are you?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this show. And David, thank you so much for being here. This is super exciting. I just wanted to really quickly say, because I've been researching this since I saw you on SGT Report, that one of the videos on the Jeranism channel, it's called Quotes That Tell Us We Have All Been Lied To, is mind-blowing. I think like a lot of people here, and I'm sure maybe everyone growing up, we believed that there were all these proofs of the ball. And these quotes are mind-blowing from all these scientists throughout history, basically admitting that on the grounds of modesty, like that's where their assumptions come from, that just that they couldn't fathom that we are the center of the universe that we see. And I just highly recommend this video. Do you know what video I'm talking about, David?
Yeah, is that the exact name? Everybody, Jeranism, Jeranism, amazing channel. You'll find NASA stuff there, but if you go to that video, it's going to make you think. So if you're not willing to think, don't go there.
And the video is literally called Quotes That Tell Us We Have All Been Lied To.
Okay, quotes that tell us we've all been lied to. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
mind-blowing. That for me, like, kind of did it. And once I started looking at the quotes myself and doing more digging, like, that was kind of the fun thing for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you,
Yes,
Lauren.
thank you so much.
We'll talk to you soon. All right, coming up next, we have Andrew Hernandez. Andrew, how are you, sir? Let me unmute you. For some reason, it won't. Andrew, I think you're going to have to unmute yourself. It won't. There we go.
There you go.
Andrew, are you there? And just for everybody, I'm dropping the Zoom link to join the call in the chat. If one of my mods could grab that and just drop it in there occasionally every couple minutes. Andrew, can you hear us, my friend? Andrew, are you there? Well, while Andrew gets his mic working, we've got Chris on the other line. Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, excellent, Chris. Thanks for calling in. You're on the air with Red Pill 78. And
thanks for calling in. You're on the air with Red Pill 78.
Yeah, we need to have just mute that volume on the computer. What's your question, my friend?
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I'm kind of growing more and more convinced with the flat Earth. I still kind of leave the door open.
As well, you should.
Yeah. But the evidence is pretty compelling. The one thing that I haven't come on board with, though, is the mudslide. I do think that we were more than capable to build those buildings. I've watched some of the videos on it, but I'd love to kind of hear your take on why you think that's a possibility. And I don't know. Yeah.
So I'm not a huge mud flood researcher. There's a channel called Martin Leakey. He does a ton of work on it. It's a fascinating thing. There's so much evidence of buildings that are buried. I found a church right here in Connecticut that is underground. It's got windows underground that are boarded up. You can tell that there was some sort of mud flood that buried this church. Again, that could happen on a ball earth too, I guess. But I don't believe that we could possibly live on a ball earth. So I don't think it's a flat earth proof. So I'm not the right guy to ask that question.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I've been seeing more and more videos of it kind of pop up, and some of the evidence that they kind of bring about was like, they'd show a town with only one person in the photo, and they led you to think, well, where are all the people, and here's the buildings. Well, during that time, if you took it would take about an hour and a half to capture an exposure on a camera. So of course, most of the people that would probably frame the camera would kind of come in frame and come out of frame.
Do you see the videos where the photos where they're digging the city out, where the buildings are half buried in mud? And back then it would take them years. Yeah, it would take years to do it. Keep researching that stuff. There's a ton of channels out there. It's fascinating.
Cool. Anyways, hey, thanks for your thoughts.
Thanks,
Chris. Thanks for calling. All right, we are still trying to get to Andrew Hernandez. Andrew, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and we can get your question answered? Andrew, I see that you've raised your hand, and you should be able to just jump on in, buddy. I don't know why it's not working. Andrew, you're unmuted, so you should be able to ask your question at any time. In the meantime, we're going to go over to Aaron, and I'm going to unmute you, Aaron. How you doing tonight?
Oh, if I was doing any better, I'd be you.
Well, Aaron, thank you for calling. What question did you have for David?
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot, and at first I was sort of on board with this several years ago, but
can you hear me?
These questions, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Somebody else popped in there. Looks like
sorry.
Okay,
it's okay, Andrew. Just go ahead and we'll take you right after Aaron. Okay.
My question. One of my questions is, if the Earth was flat, when the sun is up, the whole Earth would have daylight, and you wouldn't have darkness anywhere on the plane.
Yeah.
That's an excellent argument.
Yeah, so let me answer that. Again, on the DITRH YouTube channel, go to the sunset videos. But in reality, you can take it right now. Take a dark room, get a small light, and hold it above the floor or the table. And what you'll see is it's slowly lighting up part of that table. So hang on, you have to hear my whole question before you say no. And the light won't light up the other side of the room. Now, that's without an atmospheric deck of clouds and whatnot. You can have the sun lighting up your area. And by the way, there's a difference between sunlight and daylight, and I'll get into that in a second. So as the sun moves farther away, it drops down due to perspective, and that atmospheric deck blocks the light. We've sent up balloons. Check out the channel Dan Dimensions, and he shows you daylight next to darkness, and how the sun, when it moves away, it's a local light. The sun electrically lights up the firmament and the atmosphere above us. It excites the gases. The nitrogen turns blue. The dome lights up, and that's the daylight that comes down. The sun is just the direct sunlight. So when the sun rises on one side of your house, you can read a newspaper on the other side of your house, which is blocked by the sun. That's because the daylight is coming from the sky, which is fluorescing. Go ahead.
Okay. Even if that was true, you'd still be able to see the sun.
Untrue. Untrue. Now on my channel. Write this down. No. I believe the same thing, Justin. Check out. It's called sun fade outs. The sun light does not travel for billions of miles like they tell us. I've been able to. Again, our technology has outrun their lies. On a super clear day with a 4K camera and a drone, I can film the sun going away, not over water, no humidity in the air, and the sun will just stop on the horizon, and then it'll just fade out into the thickness of the atmosphere. It just disappears. Okay, we can see this, we can observe it. You can't observe it over the water. You can't observe it from the ground. You have to be at an elevated position to see it. But the sun, it gets the brightness of the sun just goes away with it. Light. The sun's throw of light is very limited. It's not what we were told.
Well, the other thing is, if the Earth was flat and you had a powerful enough telescope, you could see every mountain, every tall building. And I've heard all of the rebuttals of the flat Earth people, and I still don't believe it. Okay.
So let me answer that one. You don't have Superman eyes. The thickness of the thickness. So hold on. The thickness of the atmosphere over, like if you go in water, in clear water in the Caribbean, and you look, you can only see like 100 feet, and then then it's opaque. The atmosphere is the same thing. It's just thinner. So if you're looking, like if you're out west and there's mountain range, you can see the first one's bright and vibrant colors, and the next one's more muted, the next one's more muted, the next one's hard to see, and the next one is sky, but it's still there. You just can't see it because of the thickness of the atmosphere. Now, if you zoom in with a camera, you can increase the angular size of things so you can see them, but you can't go through the atmosphere unless you break out an infrared camera like Jay Tolan Media Channel does, and you can see much farther. You can see things that should be way below the horizon, but you can't see forever because of two reasons: the thickness of the atmosphere. It's not a theory; it's proven. And the angular size. Like, why can't I see England? Why can't from England I can see Mount Everest? So how come from Connecticut I can't see Mount Everest? Because the angular size of Mount Everest is below the limits of my eyes to be able to see it. Anything smaller than 0.02 degrees in angular size, even though it's there, you can't see it. Zoom in with a camera makes it bigger, and you can see it.
Okay,
all right.
One more question.
One more, Aaron.
I'm sorry.
You're good. No, you're fine.
Did I just forget it?
We'll be here for another 40 minutes.
Okay. I still understand about the distance thing, and that makes sense to me. But I mean, there's too much proof for the ball to me. And
I won. Give me one proof.
That would have knocked
Give us one.
One proof.
I don't know one.
Yeah. Can you give me one proof of the ball? One.
Oh, there's lots of proofs.
No. There's science, there's physics, and there's lots of proofs. Those are proofs.
Why is this the only planet that's flat, and every other planet?
But it's not a planet.
It's not a planet. It's not a planet. Exactly. The Earth is a plane, and planets are wandering stars. There's nothing physical above us. There's nothing except maybe the firmament, but planets are not big giant balls.
Did you
like
once
you think
believe
we
it
live
was
on.
a ball?
Absolutely.
Everyone has.
Okay, so now you learned something.
No, I believed it because I
Keep your
believed
mind
it.
open
we were
because
told.
it might
Hold on.
not be flat.
I was told that it was a ball, and I believed it. Belief is the
As
enemy
everyone.
of knowing. Everybody go to Crow 777 Radio with 2 R's in Crow and check out his stuff. It will blow you away. Right?
Okay.
Belief
All
is the
right,
enemy of
Aaron.
knowing.
Thanks for
Thank you.
calling, buddy. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We'll see you. Before we move on to Andrew, and here, I'll help you get out of there, Aaron. Okay, there we go. All right,
of
thanks
these
for watching.
questions. Go ahead.
I have an
All right, so
interesting
real quick,
question.
we had Frosty the Bear said, rhetorical question, why is every crater on the moon and every other planetary body perfectly round? What are the odds that every impact was exactly perpendicular to the surface? And Jeffrey E. did not self-delete. I can't say it out loud because we'll get the video shut down. Yes, the incident that took place in the New York MCU that with the guy who's a billionaire, and he's no longer with us. And then Tanette Booth says, we've dug 5.7 miles into the earth, not 4. And I think that Dave said that it was 8. Doesn't matter. It's mincing words, but he's right. We did get to a certain point. We couldn't keep going any further. And then Knickers Picker says, what do they think about Brian Austin Lambert? He wants to pay to find out how to survive the great disaster or whatever he calls it. Come here, Simone. Come on.
Hey, same problem.
All right.
So my question, what's the question, bro?
I-
Austin Lambert?
Brian Austin Lambert. What do you think about Brian Austin
Brian
Lambert?
Austin Lambert has an interesting theory on what's happening with the plasma event. He calls it, I forget what it's called. I find it fascinating. Brian has a little bit of a attitude problem, we'll call it. So I'm not a big follower of his. He thinks that anybody that's not talking about what he's talking about is a gatekeeper. So you are a gatekeeper, Red Pill.
Okay.
And his stuff is interesting. And if anybody wants to find out more about it, I encourage you to go watch his stuff. Go watch his YouTube channel. It's got like a 21-part series on this great plasma event that's coming, and I can't prove him wrong.
All right. Well, Andrew, now that we're up to you, buddy, what can we do for you? What's your question?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can, sir. Yes.
Okay, yeah, now putting all emotions aside and everything that we've been taught, a question arises. The Earth spins a certain direction, right? And you have centrifugal force on the equator. And I hope everyone's familiar with centrifugal force. And how fast does the Earth spin?
1,000 miles an hour. That's
So-
what's claimed, at least.
So
It doesn't move, though.
So the centrifugal force should be really great on the equators. And actually all the water should accumulate on the equator and the world should be not round, but
Correct.
it should be a very different shape. That being said, if I was standing on the equator and say I weighed 200 pounds on the equator, you have a force that's pulling away from me. So if I stood on the pole where there is no centrifugal force, I should weigh considerably more
In
than
theory.
what I weigh on the equator because there is no centrifugal force on the poles.
Here's another interesting thing about that, actually. I just saw this by Owen Benjamin. He was talking about how apparently the heliocentric model claims that because the heliocentric model, it isn't a perfect circle that they have us going around. So apparently there's supposed to be speed changes because they need to make it for the stars, right? And I guess it's like a 88 Mach, so it's like speed of sound, right? In like just 1%, and I think the difference is actually bigger than 1%. And like from extremes, I'm not sure exactly what that's about, but that's just crazy.
Yeah, so I actually just uploaded that video probably a couple hours ago. I take people's videos, I make my own videos, and all my videos, or most of them, are under 5 minutes. Most of them are under 3 minutes. So short little bites for anybody that wants to start learning the stuff. And I took those clips, and he points out how the Earth is, spinning, wobbling, and flying, and it's going around the sun, and it speeds up and slows down, and it speeds up and slows down while spinning, while orbiting. But lakes lay perfectly flat. It's absolute nonsense. Playlist on my DITRH YouTube channel called DITRH Shortlist. Go through that. And you'll start realizing that you've been lied to on a scale so grand that you might be refusing to admit it.
I think a big reason a lot of people refuse to admit it, though, is because of the fact that I think it's a religion scientism. It's just a way to stay away from God. The whole idea of God is just completely removed, or easier to be removed with a spinning ball from a cosmic.
And I'm sorry, who's speaking right now?
Justin.
Justin. Okay, Justin. Now, here's something interesting I would just like to point out is that we've got people on both sides of the argument. People who believe in the heliocentric model saying that if you don't believe in the heliocentric model, then it's against God. And then also people on the flat earth side, saying that if you don't believe the flat earth side, then it's against God. And then 112 Years Tonight says it's a waste of time. I do apologize that that's how you feel, but I think this is an interesting conversation. So what's your opinion on this, David? I mean, has believing in flat earth gave you a greater faith in, the idea that we have an ultimate creator?
So before Flat Earth, I was believed in science, evolution, and all of the other nonsense. But then when I realized that we're not a product of nothing exploding and becoming everything, and then you have a electrical charge that creates an amoeba that turns into a fish that grew legs and climbed out of the water to find another mutated fish that had a baby that became a monkey that had a deformed monkey that became a human. Okay, that's what we're told evolution is, and that the world is created and it's an intelligently designed system, and we are these spiritual beings having this physical experience here. Then you put that together and you're like, there's a creator that created this. It's not a random thing. A mutation doesn't create something better. Okay.
Entropy.
So yeah, it goes against every law out there. So why would they hide the flat earth? And here's the reason. Because right now they have you believing that you're an insignificant speck on an insignificant speck in a universe in an endless vacuum going nowhere, that an asteroid at any moment can come and hit us and blow us up, that they can blow us up with nuclear bombs. The news is to scare you, all of this other nonsense that's going on. So they have you in a low vibration of fear. They want you to believe that everything, that there's no consequences for your actions, and that you are powerless. And as long as you are willing to say, accept that and give it away, they're allowed to take it from you. This is a spiritual war that we're in.
This is actually a question that was just asked. How is this kept a secret for 500 years? Why has no one leaked that this is the actual case? What's the big payoff? What would be the reason? And then after that, I want to get Nathan in on the conversation because he's been waiting patiently.
So I'm gonna. That's where I'm going. One, it's not 500 years. That's nonsense. It's been just over 100 years that this has been a secret. The NASA introduced the globe model to us. So now there was theories of globes before that, but everybody knew the Earth was flat in 1900. Okay, they've divided us. So if everyone realized that the Earth was flat, they'd realize there's a creator. Then they'd realize that, hey, they're important, that they're more powerful. The government would lose their mind control. They'd lose that over us, and people would realize that their thoughts and their emotions create this world that we live in, that your thoughts and emotions create the world around you. So if you have bad thoughts, you're going to create a bad world around you. They need us to create their world, and they have to control our minds to do it. So the flat earth is the greatest secret they have, because if you don't believe that God exists, then you are powerless. You give away all of your power. It is the most important thing. Why aren't there whistleblowers? There has been whistleblowers for the last 100 years and longer. I'm a whistleblower, okay? There's people in NASA that have spoken out. Pilots, there's tons of pilots that are secretly talking about flat earth, but they can't publicly or they get grounded.
All right, Nathan.
Can I ask a question?
Is this Nathan?
This is Justin.
Justin, just because you've already gotten in the conversation, I want to see what Nathan had to say. What was his question?
Okay, cool.
Go ahead, Nathan. You should not be muted. You should be able to ask your question, Nathan. If not, then Justin will go ahead and get in on it.
Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you now, Nathan. Yes, thanks for calling. What can you what do you want to ask Dave?
Hey, so the one thing that I have stumped on is, hold on, let me pause.
Oh yes, yeah. Put that on mute.
I'm
Yeah.
getting like feedback, and my son is with me, so he might talk over everybody. There's a website. It's called Walter.Bislins.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a simulation of the flat Earth or the round Earth, and he kind of walks you through it all. And I can't get anybody to talk to me about that. And it seems like he's got it pretty laid out as far as, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know which video you're talking about. He's not a flat earther, but his model perfectly lays out the flat Earth. He's proven flat Earth and doesn't see it. There's a video on my channel, DITRH, in a playlist called PAD, which stands for Personal Atmospheric Dome. And I have his videos there broken down. He explains how we all see the sun on the equinox rise in the east and set in the west, no matter where you are on the Earth. It's a whole optics thing, and it's more than we can really address here on this limited show.
Real quick before anybody else jumps in, I need to do the super chats. Hey Jude says treats for Simone. Thank you. Striff Saul was trying to get in on the conversation, but apparently can't get signed in. Sorry about that. Maybe, get it ready for next week. Social Observer says, so are we basically, we're in a petri dish, basically. If the idea is that we are in, some kind of habitat that was created by God, then it kind of does sound like a petri dish. Lauren said, I was so nervous on my call-in, but wanted to say tonight's show only gives you credit. It proves you're not afraid to ask questions and seek truth. I really appreciate that, Lauren, and thank you for your call. And then Ben Schwagel says, I'm in the military 8 years. Being in Alaska, Texas, Korea, Kuwait, and Georgia, we do physical fitness tests every 6 months, always weighed about 180 pounds. So I think that's an argument saying that his weight hasn't changed when he's gone all over the world. Real quick, Jay Savoy, thank you for the super chat. Maybe we're just sleepwalking, says the world is waking up to Satan's deception thanks to people like Dave and the power of the internet. Flat Earth is growing daily. They are hiding God. Jay Savoy says, on a ball Earth, when we look up at the sky, we see emptiness of space. On a flat Earth, when we look up, we can see God and a purpose. And then finally, Social Observer, if we had flat eyes, could we see a curvature? What about the curvature of the Earth? I guess I've been told by science that between 35 and 50,000 feet, it's possible to actually see the curvature of the Earth. If that is the case, then how is the Earth flat?
Mainstream science says that you can't see it until you're up at like 70,000 feet.
Oh, really? Okay.
But yeah, we've sent balloons up to 120,000 feet, and without a fisheye lens, it's perfectly flat. When you're looking out a window of an airplane, there's two things that happen. One, you're seeing through a curved window, which might give you a curved horizon. But if you can, get up close to the window and get that curve out, what you're seeing is they're seeing the same distance in all directions. So wherever the sky is meeting the Earth, the point of convergence, let's say that's 100 miles or whatever the number is. It's 100 miles in all directions. Connect those points. It's a flat circle. And your brain is telling you that's a sphere, but it's just the limits of your eyes on a plane in all directions.
Okay. Nathan, did you want to add something?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I don't know about the videos that this guy has, and the website, it's all in German, but you can get it to go into English. It's walterbislins.ch.com or something like that. But he's made simulations to where you can compare side by side a flat Earth version, to where it's just a flat plane, and then you can compare it with the round Earth version. And I would just say, more people need to go check that out and see see if his work is actually good or not, because I don't hear anybody talking about it, because it's always been a big thing for me. Exactly what you guys are talking about. You know, where can you see that curvature? 70,000 feet up in the air, or 120, or where does it happen? Well, here's a simulation that you can see side by side comparisons with your own eyes. So I would say, you know, give that guy a plug, because whether or not he's a flat earther or not, he's done his due diligence, and people should be going and checking it out.
His videos are on my channel, perfectly analyzed, and they, in our opinion, they prove a flat earth. But you got to remember, we can see too far. We can see things that should be thousands of feet above a curvature of a 24,900 mile ball. So there's two options. The earth is flat, or the earth is 100 times larger than they're telling us. Okay.
Right. That, you know, and that could totally be it.
Yeah. And one, can I say one more thing
Yes.
real quick?
Yep. Go ahead.
Are you guys familiar with solipsism? Solipsism.
Yes, I have heard of that before, but I don't know.
To where like the only thing you can believe in is like yourself. That's the only thing you know for sure.
Okay. Yes.
I kind of tend to be that way, but I've chosen to believe certain things. You know,
Sure.
I chose to believe in God, and aside from that, though, everything else, you know, it's okay not to believe in everything. You don't have to believe that the earth is flat. You don't have to believe that it's round. But everybody just kind of, it seems like that needs to be stressed. I would like to stress that more and more to people. It's like, why believe either way? You know, just do the work.
I don't believe the earth is flat.
I know it is.
I know it's flat.
Exactly.
Right. And that's a big difference, right? You know, it's like, and when it comes to a belief, if you have a belief, then you don't have to prove it to anybody, because that's your choice. That's the difference between belief and knowing.
Belief is the enemy of knowing. Knowing is not believing. Knowing is knowing. Believing is believing. Okay, believing is faith. You believe in whatever you want to believe in, but do you know it? Okay, you know, I know that I'm holding this phone in my hand. Okay, I don't believe it. I know it.
Yeah.
All right.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for your call, Nathan. We'll see you. Justin, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about what I'm actually going to the whole Flat Earth 2019 thing, so I could have asked him there, but figured I'd ask it live. What do you think about? I don't hear very many people talking about this, but there's something about this, like the constellations, like the Southern Cross, and how
what about them?
Yeah, how they sweep across the southern arc, right? So compared to a northern constellation, where since all the constellations we know are actually rotating around Polaris, it actually proves that we live on a plane, and it proves that because of the fact that the southern constellations don't perform in the way that they should on the globe, but rather perform on a way that they should if there's, you know, a type of dome over.
Yeah, let me address this, because a lot of people have this question. And again, if the earth was a spinning ball, we should have the same thing at the same latitudes in opposite directions on the opposite side. So like if I'm in Alaska and I look up at Polaris, I do a time lapse, I see stars going around and around it. That's supposedly what we would see on a ball. And if you're at the same southern latitude, you should be able to point at a spot that's equivalent to the south rotating axis, and they should spin in the other directions. You have to remember this: no matter where you are on Earth, the stars and suns and lights in the sky rise in the east, set in the west. Okay, no matter where you are. The only reason they're going in an opposite direction is because you're on one side and then you're on the other side. Okay, so if everything's turning around above me, it's going from left to right. Right? I turn around, it's going left to right. If I turn around, it's going from right to left. If I'm on the other side, it's just
no.
You change your position. The Southern Cross, it's let's say at midnight you can see it in Santiago, Chile. Well, guess what? You don't see it in Australia. You see it 12 hours later in Australia when it's rotated around. And the thing is, what you're seeing is in the south, you don't see circular star trails, you see a half circle at the most. You never see them come up and around, and that's just simply due to perspective and optics in the sky.
I guess what my question is, though, isn't that kind of a proof that we're on a plane because of the fact that since if you're looking south, right, that's where the Southern Cross would be, right? You'd have to be looking south in the south, correct?
Correct.
So
which is away from the center.
Yeah, so they're sweeping over a larger arc because there's a larger circumference around the dome. Where if you're in the North Star, I wish I could read out of the pages of the book, but it's in the car. But it's from the Zetetic Astronomy, but it talks about you can see the Great Bear and constellations that are I guess affiliated close to the Polaris, right? All at one time, but where the southern constellations sweep further because they have a further, if you rotate a bowl around a table, the edges are going to move more than the middle. Yeah. So again, this is something that you really need some visuals on. In the app, there's and the frequently asked questions, there's star trails. What about star trails? Watch the videos there. Then you'll understand that we don't live on a spinning ball. So Red Pill, you froze. There's actually things on that app because I have that app. That's how I ended up here.
All right, awesome.
All right, Justin. Thanks for your call, buddy.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll talk to you. Bye-bye. All right, and then Striff, looks like you got your Zoom working. Are you there, bud? Well, while Striff is looking to get his microphone working, I've got a couple of super chats I need to say thank you for. Let's see. Chris Hawkins says, see, this is good stuff. Yes, creator. Yes, evil wants control and have some. We have way more. The fight is not between us. It's against evil. Weaponry is prayer first and using our hearts and minds. Love kills evil. Real love. And then Dawn says, and thank you for the super chat. Dawn says, like AJ says, we've been lied to so much we don't know what to believe anymore. I think that is a big part of it. Social Observer says, sniper scopes have to be adjusted for curvature to hit.
That is a joke. If you talk to any sniper that has real experience, they say they never adjust for it. There's one sniper, there's a video, it's a propaganda video, where they say they have to adjust for it. If you think about this, a sniper, depending on which angle he's shooting, the calculation would be different. He's shooting at a target. If he has to adjust for Coriolis, what's he looking at through the scope? He has to look like hundreds of feet to the left or to the right of his target to pull the trigger to hit the one over there, to do a big lobbing shot, right? No sniper ever does that. Think about it. You want to shoot somebody that's rotating that way, so you have to look over here, okay? Well, so he's not even in the scope. Makes absolutely no sense. It's a myth. It never happens, ever.
All right. And then Jonathan Darcy says, 2 proofs convinced me. Flight track north and south of equator. Look up flight from Bali to LA. Needed to make emergency landing. Diverted to Alaska. This is, to your point earlier, if it's a flat Earth, then the flight trajectories make sense. If not, it doesn't make any sense. Flat for Good says Dearth rules, then Flat Earth Clues, then Jeranism, then Odd TV, then Jolin Media 1. Check them out. Thank you for that. Populous 8 says 24-hour sun in Antarctica on YouTube. And I think that's correct. I mean, isn't the sun basically doesn't set in Antarctica, or it only sets for a very short period of time?
Incorrect. 100% incorrect.
Okay.
Incorrect. So in the Arctic, if you go up to Alaska, in our summer, you can see the sun circle all the way around. In Norway, there's hotels that, the 24-hour sun. So you have the 24-hour sun. That's different than just 24 hours of daylight. In Antarctica, there is no 24-hour sun. But in late December, there is 24 hours of daylight. Okay?
Okay.
And that has to do, that is some optics with, as the sun moves out farther. This is one of the things that really closed me on knowing that there's a dome up there, is as it moves out towards the outer wall of the dome, that light wraps around the entire dome. So even though there's darkness, the sun's over here, there's darkness here, there's light beyond that darkness because it's wrapped around the bowl. We've done it. We have experiments where we have a glass dome and we put a light on it, and it makes the same patterns that day and night, that time and date show us. Again, on the app, go to the Antarctica clip page, and there's a bunch of videos, and it'll show you the experiments that we've done. It'll show you the real world data and how light does work in Antarctica. Every video of Antarctica trying to prove that the sun is up for 24 hours is fake. There's 4 videos that have all been exposed. They're in that playlist, and you check it out and then understand yourself that you're being lied to.
All right, we're going to go to Striff next, and then I got some more super chats. Striff, are you there? Did you get your microphone working? We're still not hearing anything. I bet you have to go to your preferences and select your microphone. In the meantime, Eric Krebs says $60 million a day, NASA, where we go when we go out. They do spend a lot of money. That's right. Ben Schmogel says, oh, yeah, and as always, ask if he knows about Serpent Seed. He does know about Serpent Seed because he knows Zen Garcia, who is going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. And I wanted to say thank you, Ben Schmogel, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know about it, and he wouldn't be coming on. And then you saw me laugh at your comment. Knicker Pickers says, just to clarify, does David think that B.A. Lambert is really able to teach us about how to survive the event? He's asking for $300 for this information. He is arrogant.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not him. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what the event is. He's an interesting guy. I had a long conversation with him once, but he is AWOL.
Okay. Social Observer says, so we can't fly over the Earth longitudinally.
So north and south are straight lines, and east and west are circles. There's a video on my channel called Circumnavigation for Dummies. My channel is DITRH. It's the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Circumnavigation for Dummies, 3-minute video, and then you'll be like, oh, that's how it works.
Okay. And then
Is
Trump.
anyone able to hear me yet?
All right.
Yes.
Now, yes, we can hear you. One moment, and we'll get right to you. Trump Rules says, my head hasn't exploded from the blood rushing to it. I live in Australia, but definitely not upside down. And then Carissa Hartunian says, thanks for mentioning the pilots. Great show. Dan the Waterman says, Coriolis challenge. Stand in front of the shot. See if the Earth rotates around the way for you. Can you ask David to explain seasons? And then everyone thumbs up this mind gravy. Okay, Striff, and then we'll answer those questions. Oh, you're going to have to, mute the podcast.
Sorry, I have a very limited audio. I can only hear you now.
Okay.
I've actually moved away from the computer. I'm actually on the phone. What I said earlier. And by the way, I'm in no way attacking this guy. I don't do that. That's just not how I work. But flying, I do have the experience of flying backwards. It has happened.
All right, and you're saying because of the rotation of the Earth, it has allowed you to fly backwards?
Yes. Okay. See, the Earth flies. I don't remember the exact stats, but the Earth rotates like 1,000 and change kilometers per hour.
Sure.
And so if you fly east and at your minimal airspeed, at the minimal airspeed that your plane can continue to stay in the air without wing stalling. Wing stalling is when you lose the amount where there's not enough air passing under your wings to maintain lift.
Right.
Okay. Well, if you go with your plane's minimum airspeed.
Okay.
And then I believe heading east. If you fly, with the Earth rotates east, so you fly east at your minimum airspeed. The Earth is going to spin faster than you do.
Right.
The Earth moves.
Yeah. So what's your minimum wing speed? Let's say 300 miles per hour. The question is, are you going into a headwind? But that is never seen it, never heard of it. You're the first person ever saying it, and it makes no sense. Sorry.
Well, do a little bit of looking into it. I mean,
if you have any links, I'd appreciate it. It's not anything, but
Striff, are you a pilot?
Amateur pilot in the well, I got grounded after I ended up getting a head injury and getting epilepsy. But yeah, I was in pilot training.
Okay.
I'll talk to some pilots, but I've never ever heard of that.
But some people, they say that it's UFOs, or they're saying it's secret government anti-gravity, because they're filming C-130s and passenger jets flying backwards. And what it is those are pilots in training, being taught that you can do that. And somebody on the ground that doesn't know what they're seeing, they're like, you could just do a search on YouTube for plane flying backwards.
Yeah, so now I know what you're talking about. I've seen those. Basically, what you're seeing is a plane flying, usually coming into an airport, and the person filming it is traveling in a car in a direction where it's an optical illusion, where the foreground is moving faster than the background, and it makes the plane look like it's going backwards. It's simply because the person is moving.
But it wasn't an optical illusion when I was in the airplane.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I've never seen a plane or heard. There's zero reports of a plane going backwards. So if you can show me something, glad to look at it. But I'm going to respectively disagree with what you're saying wholeheartedly.
Well, you're very, very, very strongly attached to your conviction there. So,
well, I just haven't seen any evidence of it. I'd love to see it. That would really blow my mind, and I'm willing to have my mind blown because that happens every day.
Me too. I think it would be awesome if to find out, hey, I'm on a big disc under a giant.
It's not a big disc. It's not a big disc. It's a flat plane, and the world that we live in appears to be circular. At least those are the areas that we have access to.
Okay, well, I guess I have to do my own homework there, but and maybe after I, they say your imagination affects your reality. So maybe after I learn something, I'll no longer be able to fly backwards.
Striff, thank you for your call. I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for calling in. We'll talk to you next time. Okay.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
All right, now we still have Andrew Hernandez on the line. Andrew, I didn't know if you just. Oh no, where did that caller just go? Well, Angie, you're on the line. Angie, what's your question for Dave?
No, I'm just checking it out. No questions.
Okay, all right, awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you for calling in, Angie. You were successful.
I don't have an answer to that.
All right, let's see here. Yes, well, the seasons. Can you explain seasons and just? Let me finish this real quick. Notable Zero says, everyone thumbs up. Jay Savoy says, I've tested the temperature on the moonlight, and at 100% of the time, it's always colder in direct moonlight than in the shade of the moonlight. I've heard something about that before. Then Joe Mama wants to remind us about the Flat Earth podcast, and then your website, DITRH. And then Anastasia Goldenhair says, flight paths are V-shaped angles on a globe Earth and straight lines on the flat Earth. So explain the seasons to us. How do the seasons work if we've got a flat Earth model?
So again, on if you get the app, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, it shows you how seasons work there. So you have the Flat Earth model, and the sun takes a tight circle over the north is the inner half of the circle. And so the sun is in there, and it's close to us. And then 6 months later, the sun moves, the sun moves outwards to the outer plane. So when it's out, so right now it's almost on the outer edge. It'll be there on December 21st. And then 6 months later, it'll work its way back in across the equator and back to the center. So it goes out to the Tropic of Capricorn and back to the Tropic of Cancer. And that perfectly explains the seasons. We're taught by Bill Nye, the lying guy, that it's that slight tilt of the earth, and it makes the sun spread out over a bigger area. That's nonsense, because on June 21st in the north, when the sun rises over the water, as soon as I can see the sun, when it comes into my visual view, I can feel the heat on my face. And that is at the most severe angle. That's not just a little tilt. That is literally on the horizon. But on December 21st, when the sun is at its highest point of that day, and I look at the sun, I can barely feel the heat on my face. And that's at a much more direct angle. That completely negates the helio-nonsensical model explanation of seasons, and every observation and test that you can do prove that the flat Earth makes sense. Flat Earth makes sense. So again, it's on the app. Check it out, and it'll show you.
All right. Andrew, did you have any more questions? Because if not, I'm going to remove you just so that it's easier for me to keep track.
There's a video called Seasons Explained by Stinky Cash. If you want to go just check that out. Short video, Seasons Explained. Or maybe it's The Sun Explained. One or the other.
All right. And just a couple, we've got 9 minutes left. Some clarifications. If anybody wants to join this conversation, go to the description of the video. If you don't see it, then refresh your page and it should show up. Now, my mods are dropping a link that you use to access the conversation with the Zoom app. If you don't have it yet, make sure you download that Zoom app. It should direct you to download it using that link. You can also call in using your telephone, just calling in with the telephone number. Those directions are in the description of this video. It's too long for me to put into the chat box. But there is a meeting ID that if you use your telephone number, it will need that when you call in. If you are trying to join the conversation from the Zoom app directly, you don't need a meeting ID. And if it's asking you for a meeting ID, then I cannot account for that. But thank you for trying. Troy Dillard says, if that pilot can fly backwards going 300 miles an hour, why don't hot air balloons do that going 0 miles per hour? And then Laura Thompson says, have you seen the wave, the water wave on the moon? Oh, and sorry, thank you for apologizing for that, Laura. And I'm sure that everything is all forgiven. Yes, have we seen the water wave? Or yes, the lunar wave. I have seen that lunar wave, and that's why I wanted to ask Crow to come on the show so that he could tell us, how that works. What do you think, Dave, about the lunar wave?
With what we know about the flat Earth, I don't know what the lunar wave is, and I'm gonna refer that to Crow. But it's been filmed many times. It's not a camera issue, and Crow proves that. Crow has a movie out that's on Vimeo on demand called Shoot the Moon.
Okay.
I recommend everybody check that out. He has thousands of hours of high definition footage, and he made a video on Vimeo. Just shoot a Crow 777 with 2 R's or Shoot the Moon. It should come up, and if you watch that, you'll really start to think.
All right. Now, also, if you guys are interested in visiting Dave's website, his Facebook, his podcast site, getting the app for yourself, all of that information is in the description of this video, and it has been since the beginning of the show. So all you got to do is go down there and check that out. Dave, did you have something before we bring Critical Thinker in?
Yeah, one more thing. We're going to include a link to, I'm not going to say what it is, to an amazing audio book. It's a Dropbox link. We're going to leave it up for an hour after the show.
I've got that.
You put it in the description. And I recommend you download it, listen to it, a book on tape. Listen to it while you're driving. After 10 minutes, you won't be able to turn it off. After chapter 13, you'll be a flat earther.
All right. Audiobook was just dropped into the chat box. And I'm also going to put it in the description of the video in case you don't get that from the chat box. Critical Thinker, you're on the air with Red Pill 78 and David Weiss. How are you? If your microphone's not working, then you got to go to Preferences and set it in Zoom. I think we did get one more question in the super chat. Jason of the Disbury family says, for more information, YouTube Globebusters, DITRH, Nathan Oakley, The Flat Earth Debate, and Paul in the Plane.
Paul on the Plane.
Paul on the Plane. Okay. And I would really, really like to hear from anyone who's a pilot, anyone who has any background in physics and can tell us, why any of these things that Dave is bringing up are not correct, because I want to hear from both sides of this argument. Keep going.
One more thing. Right now, there's a tour going on in Europe to like 50 different countries. They have a tour bus filled, covered in flat Earth stuff, and they're going. It's called the Globali Euro Tour, and they're live streaming every day from all these different countries, and they're just on the streets talking to people about flat Earth. Mind blowing. Check it out.
All right.
Globe Lie Euro Tour. And the stream is actually on Jason of the Disbury family's channel.
Excellent. Okay, we'll have to check it out. Critical thinker, any luck with your microphone? I don't know if you're calling on your phone or on your computer, but you should just be able to go up to preferences under Zoom and set your microphone. Social Observer says Jeffrey, the dead billionaire financier that died in New York, he was a flat earther and he killed himself twice. It looks like we do have someone that called in using their phone. Are you there, caller?
We hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, caller. Yes. What's your name?
Trent.
Trent, how are you tonight? What's your question for Dave?
Just real quick, I heard him say about north and south to go north and south it's straight, and then east and west is circular. So to stay on the same latitude, like say the northern border of the United States, if you're going east, would you have to continually make a left turn?
Absolutely. And that's the same on a ball. Most people say, well, we never do that. You wouldn't notice it. If you were driving on a track that was 20 miles around, you wouldn't notice that you're turning. You'd think you're going straight. But airplanes have to follow that curved path. And that's just the way it is. If you were a mile from the North Pole, all right, so you got the North Pole, your compass is pointing at it, and you wanted to go east or west, you have to make a tight circle, and 3.14 miles later, you're going to be right back to where you started from, and you're going to be traveling either at 270 or 90, east or west, to go around, and that gets bigger and bigger. The problem happens, it's the same on a ball Earth and a flat Earth, except when you get below the equator on a ball, you'd have to start turning towards the south to correct your course. But we've had ships captains report in the southern oceans when they're trying to dead reckon at 270 or 90 that they constantly have to correct to the north very slowly. And they're like, okay, it's currents. So is the rudder off? They try to figure it out. But when they're coming back the other direction, they still have to correct to the north. That leads you to a flat Earth. This is what what a compass actually looks like. These are the true directions. Every direction away from the center is south. Any straight line on the Earth eventually goes south. You can't look east or west because you're looking south.
All right, you guys, we've got 2 minutes left, and we've got one more caller on the line, Bada Bing, and thank you very much for your call, Trent. Appreciate that. Bada Bing, what is your question for Dave? Bada Bing, are you there?
Oh.
Bada Bing, are you there? Can you hear us?
We heard you.
All right, Critical Thinker, are you there?
Yeah, critical thinker right here. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for your call, and go ahead and ask Dave a question.
Yeah, man. It's really kind of, it's a question / comment. Like the cognitive dissonance I see in like these comments and stuff is crazy because, I understand a lot of people have to have intricate explanations on things to become fathomable, but the things like flying through space at unfathomable speeds and all the constellations and stars are the same for thousands of years, and the fact that water always finds its level and there's no experiment whatsoever that I've ever seen that water sticks to the exterior of an object due to mass. Simple thing.
Awesome. That's a good point. Yeah.
All right. Let me throw out a couple things before we run out of time. Everybody check out the Flat Earth Conference, flatearthconference.com. If you can make it to Dallas, that'd be great. There's a live stream. You can watch everything live. You'll see my presentation there. Check out the Flat Earth Podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud. And if you really want to dig in, get the Flat Earth Sun and Moon app. It's on Android and Apple. And just watch that daily video every day. Just a short one during the week, longer ones on the weekend. And there's no way you'll make it 2 weeks before you send me a nasty email saying I ruined your life.
All right. Critical Thinker and Bada Bing. Looks like we're out of time, guys. It's 10:59. A lot of people reminded me all throughout the program that Q said the Earth was not flat. Well, again, if anybody has any comments that they want to add, you can do that in the comments section of this video. I want to thank Dave for being here tonight. Dave, it was an excellent conversation. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure that we're going to have you back in the future. And, perhaps next time I can get an actual physicist here to debate with you, because you've got obviously lots of arguments. You've been thinking about this for a long time. So my hat's off to you, buddy. I appreciate everything.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. And everybody, research yourself. Look into it. It's just with this YouTube censorship, it's getting tougher and tougher.
Exactly. All right, guys. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill news for Saturday Night Live Stream. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.
Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House.
Waiting for your call.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No, I would risk it all. So tell me where to go. Tell me where to go tonight.
It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here.
Cold is caving in. My patience is pacing. Tell me if it's wrong. Tell me if it's wrong, alright.
The collective gravity of the stars, the planets, the moons, the gas clouds, the black holes, the whole galaxies, when we do this, 85% has no known origin. 85% of the gravity has no known origin. There it is.
I just can't tell you how proud for every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world.
There is no reference to what we think it is. Because in fact, we have no idea. Because in fact, we have no idea. We have no idea. We have no idea. We have no idea. We have no idea.
You say that it's not enough.
We have no idea.
You say that it's not enough. Ways to me. You say that I adore you.
I say, yeah, because 85% of the gravity has no known origin. There it is.
Waiting for your call. I'm waiting for your call.
Because 85% of the gravity has no known origin. There it is.
Waiting for your call. No, I won't risk it all. I'm waiting for your call. No, I won't risk it all.
85% has no known origin. Has no known origin. Has no known origin. Has no known origin. Because 85% of the gravity has no known origin. Has no known origin. Has no known origin. Has no known origin. There it is. Of what we know is a